So Nilsa, faith has always been a part of your life. Most recently, it's become a bigger part of your life going through a recent health scare. But before we jump into that health scare, I wanted to talk about what life looked like before that, and just a little bit about you and what interested you at that time before you experienced that.
So I am a normal mom of 6. I've been married to my husband, Paul, for over 20 years. We're just a normal family, busy family, obviously, with 6 children, some grandkids now. And before, I call it my catastrophic injury. That's what when we talk about life, we talk about before the catastrophic injury or after. So before, I worked, I ran a business, was busy carpooling, my kids, basketball games, and all the normal stuff.
And what was work life like, if I can ask?
I had a business. I did a wedding and event planning business, and did about 60 plus events a year.
You were living out your dream.
Living my dream.
What would you say your faith was at that point of life?
I grew up in church. I grew up in a faith-filled home. So I think my faith was pretty solid, I don't know, for lack of a better term, it was just like normal.
So let's jump to the day where everything started to change. What year was it? What happened?
It was November 30th of 2023. It was a normal Thursday. I woke up. We were excited. My son, who was a Milwaukee firefighter, was a calendar model, and he was going to be in a firefighter calendar. And there was an event, and they were going to do like the reveal for the calendar. We were so excited. We were just thrilled about it. So we got up that morning. I had a chiropractor appointment, which I went to pretty regularly. Went to the appointment. And left the appointment. I had a headache. I'm a headache sufferer, so it wasn't anything alarming at that moment. I went about my day. Went home, took it easy, showered and got ready for this event. We were so excited, and we went to the event. It was just an amazing evening. Got to see my son and the other firefighters, unveil their calendar. It was a lot of fun. And at one point throughout the evening, my left arm started to feel a little funny. And I remember just kind of taking note, like, And I didn't think much of it. I went over to my husband and I said, "Hey, Paul, my arm feels weird." And he's like, "Well, what'd you do? Did you do something?" I'm like, "I haven't done anything. I've been just, He's like, "Well, just keep an eye on it. Let me know." And a little while later, my leg started to feel funny as well. And I didn't quite, I can't quite, I couldn't figure out what was happening. Mm-hmm. But it just felt heavy, almost like when your leg starts to fall asleep, you had like a tingling feeling. It's the same thing I felt in my arm. And I went back up to Paul and I said, "My leg feels weird." "No." And he's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, I don't know what's happening. I don't know. I said, "Maybe we should go home." And he said, "Yeah, let's go." And I kind of felt silly because I thought, it's probably nothing. I didn't want to broadcast it. We're here at this event for my son and the rest of the firefighters. Mm-hmm. So we quietly left, and my leg felt like someone had placed a sandbag, and I couldn't lift it. And by the time we got out to the car, I couldn't even lift my leg into the car, or I had to help it. And at that moment, I got really scared, and I said to Paul, "Something's really wrong." Mm-hmm. And he's like, "Okay, let's go to St. Luke's." It was very interesting that from the time we got into the car, everything kind of happened really fast. As we were exiting, my leg, all of a sudden, I couldn't even lift it. My arm, same thing, felt heavy, like I couldn't really lift it. By the time we got to the hospital, he grabbed a wheelchair. He helped me into a wheelchair because I couldn't physically walk. And he wheeled me inside, and I had my head in my hands. My head was hurting really bad. It had been hurting, but it got intensified. There was just this pain, And I didn't know what was happening. I didn't know if I was having a migraine. But he wheeled me to the counter, and I said to the woman, I just have this sudden pain, and I can't move my left side. They took me immediately, which, in hindsight, I can't believe they did that. I'm grateful that they did. And within 3 minutes, I want to say, it was already in a scan. They were asking me lots of questions, and I remember being really, really scared. My head felt kind of fuzzy. I just felt off. I think at one point in the evening, I even asked my husband, do you think someone drugged me because of how I felt? And he's like, that's so ridiculous. Like, why would, and you're right, that is silly. But I didn't know what I was feeling.
Yeah.
I didn't understand. My head felt foggy, and I just didn't feel like myself. So I'm in the CT or MRI, I don't even know what they did at that moment. But I remember being in there, and I was really scared. And I remember I couldn't even pray. And what I mean is, I couldn't find words. And I remember saying the Lord's Prayer. And it's funny that, as a catechized child that came back, we say the Lord's Prayer all the time, but that's what came to my head.
Sure.
And that was what was in my heart at that moment. And I just kept saying the Lord's Prayer. I don't know why. That was what, they took me back to the room, and there was lots of doctors in there. And he said, Miss Tremaine, you are having a stroke. We did some scans, and you have a tear in your carotid artery, and it's pretty serious, and we have to give you life-saving medicine. Okay, fix it. That's what I thought.
So what's going through your head at this point?
I didn't understand why they kept talking about, how serious it was. So they gave me this medication, and they told me they were taking me up to the neuro ICU. And I looked at the nurse. I said, intensive care? And he said, yeah, we need to make sure that you're stable, and we want to get you through the night. We want to make sure, what happens next? Let's just get through the night.
So I want to bounce back to my original question here of what life looked like for you before this all happened. And what is going through your mind about what that life looked like and how you're going to make that life happen with where you're currently at in this state?
And I don't even know that in that moment that I thought about my life at that moment. I think I was thinking to get me out of the hospital, to get back to normal. So it didn't click to me yet that nothing was going to be the same. I think it took a little while. Because again, we live in modern day with modern medicine, and I was so certain that something was going to change, and oh, okay, here. It wasn't until a few days in where it dawned on me that the person who I was that day was never going to be, sorry.
So your husband was with you through this entire process. How is he reacting to this? How is he coping with this?
It's interesting when you go through something and you kind of work as a team. So him and I have this dynamic. And this was so different because there wasn't the two of us in the team anymore. It was him. And he stepped up and he did everything. He was there every day. He took care of the kids. He did the carpool stuff. He did everything that I couldn't do. And he never complained. And on top of all of that, he spoke life into me. He prayed over me. And he would remind me that we don't know God's plan, but we trust him. And I remember he would say that to me all the time. We don't know God's plan, but we trust him. It was like he was speaking for me, but I needed him to do that. And I didn't know it.
One thing I want to talk about is Paul, who he was as a person when you met, and then him through this process, because I just think that's it's a beautiful journey for him as well. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. When I met Paul, he and we grew up very differently. He grew up in a Catholic family, and they went to church, I think, like on Christmas and Easter. And I remember when I met him, talking about my faith, and he's like, yeah, that's cool, and kind of blew it off a little. And I had expressed how that was so important to me. And when he talked about wanting to get married, I had expressed that, well, for me, it's important that I want to raise a family the way, I was raised, and, well, then I'll do that. But I expressed to him that I wanted him not to do it for me, wanted him to do it because he wanted to do it. Well, I'll do whatever it takes. And I remember thinking like, oh, okay. Long story short, though, he ended up doing like adult confirmation and things. And it's interesting, when that happens, I could see the change in him, but you don't know a person's faith or relationship with God. You just don't know. And it's when it came down to that moment, the moments when he had this he fully relied on God. He fully trusted. And the way he prayed over me, and the way he just had this faith, this unwavering faith. It's just been beautiful to see, because he's given that to our children too. Mm-hmm. And I remember him just unapologetically, just the way he was. It was so natural and so beautiful. And it was almost like when I didn't have the words to pray, he just did it for us. Like I said, when he would say, we don't know God's plan, but we trust him. He didn't say, I don't know God's plan. He said, we. He was speaking for me. Mm-hmm. And I needed him to do that. And it was really beautiful.
So before this interview, you and I had talked a little bit about your story. And one of the questions that you always had was, what was the purpose of this? And what do you think that is?
I don't know that I'll ever know the purpose. It's going to be on my list of questions when I get to heaven. But I can tell you this, that it has allowed me as a mom to slow down, and it has allowed me as a wife to slow down. I think before, with the business and the busyness and the carpooling, it's just so busy, and it's really given me the opportunity to look at the small things and appreciate the small things. And I think for my kids too, my son Daniel, I think it was his birthday this year, I don't know, something this past year. He looked at me and he said with tears in his eyes, I'm just so glad you're here, Mom. It's not something normal a kid says to their mom, I'm so glad you're alive. But that appreciation, and it's given me just a different reflection on everything, and I'm really grateful that I've had the opportunity to just slow down, and we got to bond as a family differently because of it all. Today, I walk unassisted. I still have left-sided weakness, but my hands work. Drop things occasionally. It's not the same, but I'll take what I can get.
Another thing that you had mentioned when we had talked was how God really became a part of your home and your regular life with your children. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Well, we're God has always been a part of our home, but it changed things because there was this thing that happened, and when you realize how much could be gone in a moment, it gives you this different realization. And I think that my kids, kids are kids, and there's so much that they don't realize, but I think they really realized how important our faith was and how it really got us through. And it's so funny because the kids prayed for me constantly. And even at one point, I'm like, all right, guys, you can stop praying for me. I felt bad because they would pray for Mom's healing. I'm fine. It's been a year. But it's really sweet because it became a part of their habits just to pray. And I think that's beautiful.
It is beautiful. Any final thoughts?
I mean, it's been a journey. It's been a hard journey. I'm a different person today, but I'm so grateful. And I couldn't have done it without my faith. I think my faith has been like the foundation of everything, because there was so much loss. And I'm so grateful that I'm here. I think I shared with you my favorite Bible verse, Jeremiah 29:11. And for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope in the future. And I think about that all the time, because my future is, I'm here. I have a future, and I'm really grateful for that.
And we're glad to see you today, and thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of Part of the Journey. As Nilsa told her story, I was reminded of a passage from Philippians chapter 4, verses 12 and 13. The Apostle Paul said, "I know what it is to be in need, and I know what it is to have plenty. I've learned the secret of being content in any and every situation, whether well-fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or in want. I can do all this through him who gives me strength." Nilsa talked about how important it was for her to have a support system as she went through her struggle. And the same can be said for us. We know that we can find our support in God. He is the strength that we need. That's all for this episode. Use the buttons below to like and share, and be sure to hit subscribe so that you'll be notified when our next episode drops.